In this video, we're going to talk about some of the worst features in every single chapter of Fortnite, beginning, of course, with Chapter 1 and working our way all the way through present-day Chapter 6. These are features, gameplay-related or not, that for me were not good additions to the game whatsoever, and in fact, if these features never returned, I'd be happy. Remember, these are not necessarily specific Fortnite weapons, but more so general features, and if you'd like to see me talk about the best features from every chapter, be sure to let me know by liking this video. This list is not exhaustive, and I need you guys to let me know in the comments some features that should have been in this video, because I guarantee you I forgot some. These are just ones that I thought of off the top of my head real quick. If you go on to enjoy this video, consider leaving it a like, subscribing to the channel, and using code TYFRYZ in the Fortnite item shop as always. But finally, let's get into this video, beginning with Chapter 1. So, in my opinion, one of the more underrated bad features in Fortnite history was introduced in Season 6, specifically with Update V 6.21, where 25% of explosive damage will now penetrate through structures and the environment. Yes, you heard that right. If you are sitting in a 1x1, fully boxed up, and someone shoots an RPG at your wall, you will take damage through the wall. It is absolutely insane. This is one of those decisions that I cannot believe was ever in the game. Imagine this was added today, right? People would revolt. People would stop playing the game. I have no idea what their objective here was, and a feature that was removed very shortly after it was added, and I can almost guarantee you this will never happen ever again. Chapter 1 brought us Season 7, which also brought us planes, right? The X4 Stormwings. Now, I don't think this needs much of an explanation. I think we see in Chapter 6, Season 4 currently, how you really can balance a flying vehicle. You just got to make them very slow, very easy targets, and make it so that the vehicle itself cannot shoot and you need gunners on the side of them. But of course, that's now, and I'm not talking about now. I'm talking about planes in Season 7, absolutely broken. You had no fuel, so you could just fly however long you wanted to, just bash through anybody's build. 50 damage you were doing per shot in the plane. You could have your whole team sitting on the plane. You could actually shoot out of the plane. I think the gameplay will speak for itself. Planes are a really bad feature. But honestly, an even worse feature comes in Chapter 1 Season X with mechs. Yeah, guys, let's be honest. You knew they were going to be here. I don't really want to spend all day talking about mechs. I've already made a whole video talking about why mechs are arguably one of the worst things to ever happen to Fortnite. Before Chapter 5 Season 3 came out, I would tell you these were the most overpowered thing we had ever seen in Fortnite. And yeah, again, you guys knew they were going to be on here. I don't want to spend all day talking about mechs, so let's move on to Chapter 2. And this is going to be a little bit of a longer section of this video. Alright, Chapter 2 was a great chapter with a ton of really great things, but unfortunately, we got a lot of bad features here. We're going to begin with Chapter 2 Season 1's Battle Pass change, right? They actually retired Battle Stars and made it so that your Season XP was all that would matter to progress the Battle Pass. And I talk a little bit later on in this video about more Battle Pass changes, so I'm not going to elaborate a ton here. I really don't like it. I think Battle Stars were perfect for the game. They made you want to grind challenges. But again, we'll talk about Battle Passes a little bit later in this video. And in my opinion, the worst feature ever added into Fortnite, it is bots, right? Of course, came with Chapter 2 Season 1. AI bots have no place in this game, at least not in my skill-based matchmaking lobbies, which is why I still don't understand why half my lobbies are filled with bots. Don't even get me started on OG, because OG is an absolute disaster with bots, and there's one simple solution here. It's just make a casual playlist that's filled with bots. Because honestly, bots only help the newer players, right? The more really casual players that, feel really satisfied by getting a 10-kill win killing all bots. That's fine, right? Leave that in a casual playlist. But I have literally been playing this game for 8 years straight. I don't need to kill AI bots, right? It does nothing for me. I will literally die on the side that I think bots were one of the worst additions ever to Fortnite, and they are the worst feature ever. Chapter 2 Season 2 was a great season, but it also introduced getting a collaboration skin in every single battle pass. And I don't really like that feature, right? For me, the main complaint comes in particularly at Tier 100, which that started in Chapter 2 Season 4. If you remember, in Season 2, the secret skin was Deadpool. In Season 3, you had Aquaman. And then Season 4, you had Iron Man as the Tier 100. And look, I think collaboration skins are fine, here and there, but not every single season, right? Especially when you're replacing Tier 100 skins, original Fortnite created skins that used to have so much creativity to them, like Omega Ragnarok, even the Ice King, right? It really makes me angry when they don't even match this season's theme, right? Like why is Darth Vader the tier 100 skin for chapter 3, season 3? You have a tier 100 skin be Darth Vader in a season that is named Vibin, right? Like it just, like that makes me the most upset. And the only season since chapter 2, season 2 to not have a collaboration skin in it is of course chapter 4, season OG. And also we don't need entire collab seasons. We saw how that worked with the Galactic Battle, and we'll talk about more about that season later. In chapter 2, season 3, we got Marauders, and in chapter 2, season 4, we got Gorgers. Yeah, packs of AI roaming the map. We don't need those. And probably the most obvious pick to be on this list, it is chapter 2, season 6's weapon crafting mechanic. And honestly, I think it's actually an okay mechanic. Like, I don't mind how it was implemented in chapter 2, season 7 and beyond, but it absolutely sucks when the entire season's loophole is based around this mechanic. You couldn't just find like a regular pump shotgun on the ground now. You had to find its base version, then you had to get the parts, and then you had to craft a regular pump shotgun. Then you had to do that for the other 4 weapons in your slot to even just be competitive. Look, like I see the weapon crafting idea, I see what they were trying to do. In theory, it's okay. In practice, it was absolutely terrible, and one of the main reasons why I think chapter 2, season 6 was so bad. But alright, that's it for chapter 2. Let's go to chapter 3. Alright, this is my hot take for this video. Beginning with chapter 3, season 1, I think red dot sight assault rifles are actually a bad feature for the game. Look, I'll be the first one to say, I am an FPS player from the jump. I've been playing FPS games for over a decade now. I absolutely love red dot sight ARs, right? But you can't deny that it totally screws up the meta in every single season that you have a red dot sight AR. Because the big problem here is you can't have first-person assault rifles and then also have other assault rifles, or really just other weapons that have bloom, and expect them to be competitive with each other. Besides like the regular scoped AR, right? What season has there been a red dot sight AR or a first person scoped AR and it hasn't been the meta assault rifle? You had the MK7 in chapter 3, season 1, and then you had the striker burst rifle come after that, and then you had the twin mag assault rifle, and then you had the enhanced striker burst rifle in chapter 6. Of course, you had the hollow twister in chapter 6, right? The other assault rifles just cannot compete with the first person scoped ones. I think it just totally ruins the meta whenever these scoped assault rifles are in the game, and if you don't have a powerful sniper in the same season to kind of neutralize people from just standing on top of their box just beaming people, the meta just becomes absolutely cooked. And that's why you saw in chapter 6, season 3, I think of, where they just said, you know what, screw it, we're taking out all scoped assault rifles, and we're also just going to take out snipers as well. Please be sure to let me know in the comment section down below what you think of this one, though. I also forgot to mention the Red Eye Assault Rifle, right, in Chapter 4, Season 1, and Season 2. And then, of course, you had the MK Alpha Assault Rifle in Chapter 4, Season 3. That thing was a little bit mid, though. And that was really my big one for Chapter 3. The only thing I could think of for Chapter 3, like a feature that I really didn't like, wasn't even really a feature. It's Fracture, right? The ending of Chapter 3. Absolutely terrible, horrible. I remember being so excited for this event and sitting through it, and I couldn't believe what I was playing. I was like, I literally could not have found a better time to waste my time than this event. What an absolute disaster. And I know it's not necessarily a feature, but I had to mention it at least somewhere in this video. So of course, here it is. And that's the end of chapter 3. Let's go to chapter 4. So chapter 4 is a weird one, right? Because I really love chapter 4, and honestly, I can't really think of any like really bad features that stuck out where I'm like, oh, I really don't like it, right? You could say augments, but I think augments were more of a net positive than they were a net negative. The worst feature that I thought of for chapter 4 was Sniper Glint, which was added in chapter 4, season 2, right? Previous to chapter 4, season 2, if you scoped in with a sniper rifle, people would not see anything, right? It was just like any other weapon. But after this feature was added to the game, every single time somebody was scoped in with a sniper rifle, you would see that bright glint. And I honestly just don't like it because I love sniper rifles, and this is a huge direct nerf to sniper rifles. So that's of course my reasoning for it. If you hate getting headshotted by sniper rifles, you're gonna be like, yeah, I absolutely love this. Every time I see glint, I just duck my head down until I see that glint go away. And yeah, I would totally get that. But really, that's all I can think of for chapter 4. Again, please let me know in the comment section down below if there's something like super obvious I'm missing. I'm sure there is, but okay, that's gonna be the end of chapter 4. Let's go to chapter 5 because this is gonna be a juicy one. All right, chapter 5. We've got a lot to talk about here. I know some people are going to expect me to say, you know, movement animations, but no, that is not what I'm going to complain about here. We got to talk about all projectile weapons first. This is a terrible feature. Having the entirety of the loot pool shoot projectile weapons was an absolute disaster for me. It's one of the reasons why I really didn't like Chapter 5. Just keep it hit scan, right? There was no reason to go to projectile weapons, and I guess the reason why they did that goes into my second point, which is weapon attachments. I guess they thought that it would be too overpowered to have all hit scan weapons and be able to throw, you know, a grip on there, a scope on there, a magazine, whatever. And honestly, they might have been right in thinking that, but I hate the way that they implemented attachments, making it so that you could only put on attachments at weapon mod benches, many of which only spawned in like 10 minutes into the game being done already. There was really no attachment diversity either, right? Like you had like 2 or 3 attachments per slot, and there was always one that was like definitively better than the others, right? You just had like meta builds come up. Weapon attachments had been leaked and leaked and leaked for years, and I think the way they implemented it was absolutely terrible. And speaking of poor implementation, yeah, the Chapter 5 Season 1 multiverse, right, where you had rocket racing, Lego Fortnite, all this stuff, which created this like huge stray away from Battle Royale and into other game modes. And now you kind of see the toll it's taking on Fortnite. Player counts are super split, right? Like regular Battle Royale will only have like 90,000 players. Matchmaking times will start to go up, right? Because the player base is being spread so thin because there's like 10 different game modes now. I'm fine with there being like 4 or 5 game modes, but now it's gotten out of control, and that is all because of the multiverse way of thinking that was introduced with Chapter 5. Also, controversially, I think medallions were kind of a miss. Medallions are just so hard to balance, right? I feel like medallions either end up being useless and there's no reason why you should take them, or so strong that if you don't have them, you're at a significant disadvantage in the game. I think having bosses just drop mythic weapons is fine enough. I mean, it worked all the way up until Chapter 5, so why change it? And of course, now you see in Chapter 6, Season 4, they're like, you know what, screw this. We're just going to remove them entirely, and medallions are just out of the game. And at this point, we don't know if medallions are ever going to come back. They might be gone forever. But of course, Chapter 5 introduced medallions. And you had to know that Chapter 5 Season 3 was not getting away unscathed on this video, because obviously we've got to talk about the mythic cars. Cars on their own were already annoying, right? I think you could even make an argument that cars were a bad feature added into Fortnite. Not bad. I mean, let's be honest, they were inevitable, but the mythic cars were just a step up. They are more overpowered than mechs, and I think you can make an argument they are the most overpowered thing that's ever been in this game besides like the transformation items. And speaking of transformation items, let's talk about those right now. I don't like the transformation items. I don't know if this is like a hot take, and obviously these were introduced originally in Chapter 1 with the Thanos' Infinity Gauntlet, but that was kind of like a one-off thing. In Chapter 5, we started to get them consistently. Chapter 5 Season 4, you had the Armor of Doom, and then after that in Chapter 6, basically every single season we've had one, right? You've had Godzilla, Megazord, the Star Destroyer, Superman, right? It's just like, I don't like them. I feel like for the majority of them, if you don't get it, right, like your game is essentially over, and it forces you to either basically risk your life to go for the transformation items or just hide from them for like 10 minutes. I will say some of them haven't been that overpowered, like Superman, right? I think Superman was actually not good at all. I wouldn't even recommend going for Superman. But stuff like the Armor of Doom, Godzilla, and Megazord were just so unbelievably strong. I personally just think it messes up the entire flow of the game. But of course, let me know in the comment section what you think about that one. That's the end of Chapter 5. And finally, let's talk about Chapter 6. All right, we're going to begin Chapter 6 with, again, talking about the Battle Pass, right? Because the Battle Pass being able to be unlocked with just XP in any game mode, again, retiring battle stars, I don't like that personally. Yes, I like it in terms of, like, I can play any game mode and unlock the Tier 100 skin, but also, that means that there's really no exclusivity anymore, like, to the Battle Pass. Basically, everybody has the Tier 100 skin. It's not even really a flex anymore. I can't remember the last time, seriously, the last time that I looked at, like, the challenge board to do a weekly challenge or a daily challenge, right? It's like, who cares? Just play the game for a couple hours a week, maybe like 10 hours a week, and you'll have no problem getting the Tier 100 skin. You don't got to do any challenges, just play the game, get your XP, and there you go. I don't know, this one's kind of a double-edged sword, right? Because I see the positives of this, especially for the casual players just want to play and they don't want to grind challenges, they just want to get the Tier 100 skin. But again, on the other hand, for me, as somebody who's a little bit more hardcore to the game, there's no grind, right? There's no grind. It's just play the game and you'll get the Tier 100 skin. And not to mention, it doesn't even have to be Battle Royale. It could just be any game mode. Also, we've got to talk about durability. Yeah, guys, durability is an absolute nightmare. I don't know why they added it. I hate durability. Durability essentially ruins every single item it touches, right? It ruined the kinetic blade. I think it ruined something like the Lawless Slap Jug. Almost every new mobility item we get now has durability, and I guess that's because they don't want overpowered mobility items running the map. But let's be honest, that hasn't stopped items like the Typhoon Blade, like the Kneecapper, from just running the game anyway. So I don't really see what durability does. I hate it so much as a feature. I wish they would remove it, but it doesn't look like they want to do that anytime soon. I also wanted to briefly mention mini seasons, okay? Because of course, these were introduced technically with OG in Chapter 4 and then Remix in the end of Chapter 5. But those were like, you know, like the nostalgia bait mini seasons. I'm talking about like the true mini season stuff like Galactic Battle and soon to be the Simpsons season. I don't like the mini seasons personally. Like, it feels too short to have like any attachment to the season, but not long enough where I feel like I can really enjoy the season. I did not like Galactic Battle whatsoever, and I am absolutely terrified for the Simpsons mini season. I'm just so scared it's going to be another Galactic Battle, and I'm just not going to like it, and the viewership is going to be down. Oh, don't get me started on the Simpsons season. I won't hate on it too soon. But yeah, honestly, I would just prefer a regular season over a mini season. And the final thing I want to talk about in this video, it is the bugs from Chapter 6, Season 4. Yeah, I think the bugs were a total miss, and that is why they have been vaulted from the entire season as of recording this video. They were just a miss, right? They were a miss. I have not heard anybody talk positively about the bugs, and I guess that's to be expected, kind of, right? Because they're not meant to be liked. They're kind of meant to be a nuisance. I don't know. I just feel like this season would have been better if there were no bugs, right? It's that simple. Why do the bugs even need to exist besides being pests? I'm not a fan of bugs. I know a lot of people aren't, and yeah, I guess that's why they removed them from the game, and that's the end of Chapter 6, and that marks the end of this video. Alright folks, I hope you went on to enjoy that one. That was the worst features in every Fortnite chapter. Again, please let me know in the comment section down below if you think there's anything I missed. Again, this list I put together in like an hour or so. So there's a chance I could miss something big. If you let me know in the comments and I agree with you, I will definitely reply to your comment. That being said, guys, thanks so much for watching. I'll catch you in the next one. As always, peace.